नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वशास्त्राब्धि पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांतरत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैक दृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वांतोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षाक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तु मे। मदेक बंधो मत्संगिन मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोस्तुते। असाधु साधुता दायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक हानमुंच कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णार्थकंठयो स्फुर। श्रीमद्भागवत महापुराणम की जय। Okay. Hare Krishna. So welcome all of you in our discussions on second canto. We are beginning the second canto's study in the course of Bhakti Vaibhav here. So I am very grateful for having given the opportunity to share some studies of second canto with all of you. And and in this effort, I seek blessings of all the devotees assembled here, especially Sundar Sham Prabhu and also Antadvip Prabhu, all other devotees also, so that I would be able to speak in parampara. Thereby, it can help to gain my own understanding, and also it can help you in some way in bhakti. So we seek the blessings of Sri Advaita Acharya in our effort to understand the contents of second canto. He is a combined incarnation of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. So his creation is being studied in the second canto. So we seek his blessings by which we will be able to understand something by Prabhupada's mercy, by previous Acharya's mercy. So I had, when I was approached with teaching of this canto, so I did say that I would be able to take it up, but provided that, because this is one of the very philosophical cantos. So I did say to our coordinator that I would need more time to discuss. Uh, so I said to him, whichever chapter you want to give me, so please give the liberty to discuss it uh, in the time, at least minimum time that is required, at least bare minimum time that is required to discuss. So that is how I have changed the Mayapur's unit pattern from 2 units to 3 units for this canto. Because 5 chapters of second canto in matter of 16 hours is not going to do justice to it. It will be too quick, just rushing through the contents like that. So there's a lot of discussion over here, big commentaries. Prabhupada purports are also very big, many places. So I just split it into 3 units. So in this unit, we will see from canto, first chapter to 4th chapter, 1 to 4. Then next unit will be 5, 6, 7. And then last unit, 8, 9, 10. So three chapters in next 2 units, which is very much justified, because if you see the content that is there in these chapters, plus I had also taken some feedback on the feeling of prior batches who within 16 hours they finished 5 chapters of this, so they felt very much rushed through, especially a topic like Chatushloki itself is so much heavily commented. Prabhupada himself has so much commented on it, and with some insights from Vishwanath Chakravarti Jiva Goswami, it's quite a topic to discuss. So that's why that is in the last unit. And also aspects of creation can be discussed in some detail, at least what is provided, what is given to us by acharyas. So that was the purpose in splitting in this fashion, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10. And first 4 chapters also are quite interesting in terms of their content and length of discussion. Okay, so this is the purpose. Of course, I am notorious for not being able to finish on time, but I hope and pray that now for this batch, I should be able to finish things on time like that. So accordingly, we will also take questions and answers. I don't have any problem in taking questions, answers. If I feel that I'm just lagging, then I'll take them outside the class time. Okay. So if you have questions, then you stay back after the class and then you can ask also, no problem. Okay. Fine. So second canto, the cosmic manifestation. So we'll begin with the auspicious invocation. Prabhupada has entitled this chapter as the first step in God realization. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we will go like this. Someone will read the translation. We'll recite the verse together, and one of you can volunteer to read the translation. And then we will discuss points from purports and also Acharya commentaries. Okay.
O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
Yes, so Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the standard invocation. So that is in the beginning again, at second canto's beginning. Vyasadeva writes this, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This Bhagavad, oh, I have to share the screen. Okay. Okay, so Vyasadeva, Srimad Bhagavatam is primarily the composition of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva, seeing the future, he wrote down the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. So many times he writes some verses for Sangati, for connection, like that. So here also, this is a Sangati verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is Vyasdev's, he is writing it. This is not Shukdev's Mangalacharan, like that. Because Shukdev is next verse, he starts speaking, Shuka Uvacha, like that. So, because this is second canto beginning, and especially Srimad Bhagavatam is seen also in terms of three dialogues, right? One thing is Vyasadev himself is writing. Second is Srila Sud Goswami is speaking to Naimisharanya sages. And Shukdev is speaking to Parikshit. So Vyasadev, after Krishna's disappearance, he saw in the future all these incidents happening. Shukdev coming to Parikshit, and later, in that assembly, Sud Goswami hearing, and then further Sud Goswami speaking to Naimisharanya sages. So he viewed in the beginning only everything, and seeing it, he is writing beforehand. So that is Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is Vyasadev's composition. Are these the exact verses spoken by Shukdev? We don't say so. Are these the exact verses spoken by Suta Goswami? We don't say so. This is Vyasadev's composition of what all transpired in these two conversations. So for most of the verses, they are original verses spoken by those particular beings also. Srila Jiva Goswami says that. But primarily we should know that they are Vyasadev's composition, right? When Shukadev is going to speak, he will not speak about appearance of Shukadev Goswami, right? Why will he speak that to Parikshit? He's not going to speak that. So he is going to speak from Varyaneshate Prashna Kruto Lokahitam in this fashion. So that is why the same content was spoken by these personalities, but the 18,000 verses are Vyasadev's composition. Okay, so this is how it is. So here also, he is writing again in the beginning of second canto, which is a subject matter, especially a subject matter which is beginning to describe Bhagavatam's topics. So he again writes Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sarga is beginning over here like that. So Prabhupada in purport, so I have highlighted this. I have some. Yes. So I have highlighted some statements from Prabhupada's purport, so which we'll discuss. Some themes primarily, rest of it is like if some general theme is there, we are not going line by line, but major some points, striking points, they will be highlighted and I will speak on them. So Prabhupada says, or maybe somebody can read, yes. Just have the mic.
In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the principle of creation are described, and thus the first canto may be called creation.
Yes. So Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Lord Vasudeva is being offered the obeisances. Standard Mangalacharan for Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, principles of creation are described. So that's why first canto may be called creation. Now it is interesting, if you see in first canto, not much principles of creation are described. Where is creation described? Somebody would like to tell in first canto. See, creation means a specific thing here. Creation means bhuta matra indriya dhyam janma sarga udarita. Sarga, it is sarga actually, creation means. So all these lakshanas of these topics of Bhagavatam, they are given in second canto, 10th chapter. We will study them. So sarga is what? It is called bhuta matra indriya dhyam janma. That is known as sarga, like that. And brahmanaha guna vaishamyat. If we see because of agitating the modes, what is caused is called sarga. And then the secondary creation is visarga, that is done by Brahmaji. These definitions will come in 2.10, like that. So Brahmanaha guna vaishamyat visargaha paurushaha smritaha. Visarga is by paurushaha, पुरुष के द्वारा. तो वो पुरुष कौन है? वो ब्रह्मा जी है वहां पर, ब्रह्मा जी. And Brahmanaha in that definition refers to Supreme Lord actually. Supreme Lord glancing on Pradhan, then he, invokes, agitates the three modes of material nature, thereby Mahatattva and all that is created. So from that, the creational aspects begin. So especially the creation of 5 elements, 5 tanmatras, bhuta matra, indriya, 11 senses, 10 karmendriyas, 5 karmendriyas, 5 jnanendriyas, 1 mind, and then dhyam. Dhyam refers to Mahatattva and Ahankar, and these 23 elements. So they are known as creation. So it's a specific definition of creation. So in first canto, it is not so much described, but in some of the prayers of first canto, we can connect some topics to creational aspects, like what Mother Kunti is saying, or what personalities like Bhishma Pitama is praying, or some prayers of Hastinapur ladies. Some elements can be connected to creation. So Prabhupada's use of creation, that topic is justified. Srila Jiva Goswami in Tattva Sandarbha says that all the 10 topics of Bhagavatam are scattered throughout the cantos. So he says that is why naming a particular canto by a particular topic is not a very wise idea, he says, because the topics are scattered. So he says in that way, 10 topics and 12 cantos. That way also it is 2 extra, isn't it? So how will you manage 10 topics, 12 cantos? You know the 10 topics, right? Bhagavatam's 10 topics. Atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam utayah manvantareshanu katha nirodho muktirashtaya. So we can see that. So because based on that statement of Jiva Goswami also, what Prabhupada is saying can make sense, because yes, certain topics, certain prayers can be connected to creation also. But specifically creation is the topic of second canto. And third canto and fourth canto's topic is Visarga. In major, discussion, primarily, it is called as Pradhanyena Vyapadesha Bhavanti. There is a nyaya, there is a logic called as Pradhanyena Vyapadesha Bhavanti. You give a name based on Pradhanya. What is the Pradhan topic in that? That is based on that Vyapadesh, nomenclature is given. So in second canto, main topic is Sarga. Third, fourth, main topic is Visarga. So that's why you can give that name, no problem. Like somebody may say Varanasi is a city of Pandits. Not that everybody in Varanasi is a Pandit, right? There might be some fools also, dumb people also. But then you will say Varanasi is a city of Pandit because Pradhanyena, because many are scholars, like that. So same way, even in the second canto, primary topic that is described is Sarga, which is the creation, like that. And then in third, fourth, Visarga is there. Then fifth, Sthanam is there. Sixth, Poshanam is there. So that, so Prabhupada in this way says that first canto is creation. And then the second canto, Prabhupada says, read.
Similarly, in the second canto, the post-creation cosmic manifestation is described. The different planetary systems are described in the second canto as different parts of the universal body of the Lord. For this reason, the second canto may be called the cosmic manifestation.
See, Prabhupada is also explaining why he is naming cosmic manifestation. Because in second canto, yes, the Sarga aspect is being spoken. Once Lord agitates the Prakriti, and then we see further Mahatattva and Ahankar and all that. So it is cosmic manifestation, right? Even the different planetary systems, Prabhupada is saying that they are described as different parts of universal body. So Vairaj Roop or universal form is described in this canto. It is described how many times in this canto? Universal form is described multiple times actually. 3 times it is described. Okay. So universal form will be described in the first chapter, first description of universal form. In the 6th chapter, second description of universal form. In the 10th chapter, third description of universal form. And in third canto's 6th chapter, fourth description of universal form. So these 4 descriptions are famous. Vishwanath Chakravarti points this out. These 4 descriptions of universal form are there, and they are there with a specific purpose. We will see as and when we go there, like that. So that's why the cosmic manifestation, different planetary systems as universal body of the Lord, or the Sarga aspect itself can be named as cosmic manifestation, like that. So that is why Prabhupada names the cantos like that. Quite interestingly, if you will see, Prabhupada has also named the cantos little differently in his Jaladut diary. This is another way in which Prabhupada wanted to name the cantos. So it was quite interesting to see. In Jaladut diary, Prabhupada writes how he wants to name the cantos. So first canto he wants to name as the absolute truth. Second, symptoms of objectivity. Third, creation of the material world. So in third canto also Sarga is there. Second also, third also, but primarily Visarga is there. Okay. Fourth, sub-creators, Visarga. Fifth, the planetary system, Sthanam. So in this nomenclature, he is going well with the Acharya's names. This is how they also name like that. Especially Vishwanath Chakravarti names like that. So he is following this system over here. But of course, these are English names, so it can be like even what we are seeing in this canto, meaning the regular names, that is also fine. But I just wanted to show you that Prabhupada is also naming them in different way. Sub-creators, that is Visarga. 5 planetary system, that is Sthanam. Lord the protector, Poshanam. Creative impetus, Uti, change of manpower, Manvantar, science of God, Ishanukatha. Krishna, the cause of all causes, Ashray. The path of liberation, 11th, Mukti. And 12th is naming as Samambonam. So usually he Samambonam, he names also 10th canto, like that. So Nirodh is the topic for the 12th. So this is how usually these cantos are named. Most of the Acharya, Jiva Goswami in Tattva Sandarbha, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti in Bhagavatam commentary. This is how they name typically. So first canto is more or less considered a parichaya only. It is introduction. Nobody has given any topic to first canto as such. Not like very specifically. Srila Jiva Goswami says that there is one topic which is sarvatra, which is everywhere. What is that? That is poshanam, he says. Raksha, protection of the devotees, is sarvatra. It is everywhere. So if you want to ascribe first canto, yes, you can ascribe the aspect of raksha also. It is there. And just as Prabhupada says, we saw that it can also be called a creation because some principles of creation can be found also at these places like that. Okay, so fine. So now he says, read further. There are 10 chapters.
There are 10 chapters in the second canto, and in this 10 chapter, the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam and the different system of this purpose are narrated. The first chapter describe the glories of chanting, and it hints at the process by which the neophyte devotee may perform meditation on the universal form of the Lord.
So now he's telling about the 10 chapters of the second canto. See, primarily he told what is there in first canto, second canto, and then within second canto, what is there in general he is speaking. So he's speaking it on the basis of Sridhar Swami's commentary. So those of you who read the commentaries will immediately understand where is he speaking from. So he's speaking from here. द्वितीये तु दशाध्यायैः श्री भागवतम आदितः उद्देश लक्षणोक्तिभ्याम संक्षेपेन उपवर्ण्यते. He's translating this from Sridhar Swami. In second canto, Dvitiye, Dashadhyaye, by 10 chapters, what is spoken? Shri Bhagavatam Aditaha. Bhagavatam's topics are spoken from the beginning. Uddesha Lakshanokti by Uddesh, purpose, and Lakshana by symptoms. Is Prabhupada using those terms? Purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam and different symptoms of this purpose. So this is from here. Uddesha Lakshanokti Sankshepena Upavarnyate. So what is Uddesh? What is Lakshana? Uddesh is Ashray Tattva. Lakshana is the 9 remaining topics. Understand? This is the understanding by Sridhar Swami. Bhagavatam's main purpose is Ashray Tattva, Shri Krishna. And rest of all the topics are just geared towards describing that. That is the purpose. Vishwa Sarga Visargati Navalakshana Lakshitam Shri Krishnakhyam Param Dhama Jagad Dhama Namami Tat. Sridhar Swami says, the Ashray Tattva is Navalakshana Lakshitam. Ashray Tattva describe karne ke liye hi baki 9 topic bole hai, actually. It's all to take you to the Ashray Tattva, which is the 10th canto, which is the topic in 10th canto. So purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is Ashray Tattva, and that Ashray Tattva is described by describing other 9 topics. Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Uti, Manvantari, Ishanukatha, Mukti, Ashray, Mukti, Nirodh is all describing Ashray Tattva like that. So all these topics are given further in the second canto. You know that 2.10 describes this. So Lakshan is called as Lakshate Anena iti Lakshanam, by which you understand the characteristic is known as Lakshana. And Uddesha means Namamatrena Vastu Sankirtanam is known as Uddesh. These are the definitions from Nyaya. You know what it means is just giving an overview of contents is called as Uddesh. Meaning you just tell Sarga, Visarga, Sthan, Poshanam, Uti, Manvantari, Ishanukata, Ashray. This is called as Uddesh. And Lakshana means you start describing. What is Sarga? Bhutamatra Indriya Dhyam Janma. Ye ho gaya Lakshan. Similarly, what is Visarga? Then Visarga is Brahmano Guna Vaishamyat Visarga Paurusha Smata. Like that. Then what is Sthanam? What is Uti? Like that. All those different symptoms, they are known as Lakshanam. So that is what he is meaning by that. Purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is Ashray, and different symptoms of this purpose means the rest of the 9 topics. Like that. So it is coming from here. Tatra tu prathamadhyaye kirtana shravanadibhi sthavishte bhagavad rupe manasa dharna uchyate. In the first chapter, what is being heard, what first chapter speaks about Kirtan Shravan, which is the glories of Lord's chanting and hearing and remembering. And also Sthavishte Bhagavad Rupe Manasa Dharna. And Dharna in the universal form of the Lord. Dharana of an Ashtanga Yogi in the universal form of the Lord. These 2 topics are spoken in this chapter. That's it. Same Prabhupada is describing. The first chapter describes glories of chanting, and it hints the process by which neophyte devotees may perform meditation on universal form of the Lord. 2 topics, same as as he spoke, right? So in this chapter, from verse 1 to 14 is the glories of chanting, Shavanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, especially chanting, Anukirtanam, from 1 to 14, and 15 to the end of the chapter is the process of Ashtanga Yoga, in which especially there is meditation on the universal form. Vairaj Dharana. So we'll see these terms. Vairaj, what does it mean? Vyashti Purusha, Samashti Purusha, Hiranyagarbha, Vairaj. All these terms will be very familiar with you as you go ahead. Okay, so this is the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam's second canto. So second canto is in general describing all the contents of Bhagavatam in terms of the topics. These topics are there in the Bhagavatam right from beginning, Aditaha, प्रारंभ से लेके अंत तक जो भागवतम में टॉपिक्स है ना, उसका पहले गुण संकीर्तन कर दिया. They are enlisted by saying atra sargo visarga च स्थानम भोषणम utaya, and then each one of them is also spoken with lakshan. Each one of lakshans are also given over here. So that is done in this particular canto that way. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also gives chapter by chapter description of what this canto is speaking. See here, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti. दशाध्याये द्वितीय अस्मिन् चक्रे नारायणादितः प्रवृत्तस्य अस्य शास्त्रस्य प्रक्रम व्यासनन्दनः. In the 10th, in the second canto, in 10 chapters of second canto, the Bhagavatam, how it was originally spoken by Lord Narayana. Did Lord Narayan speak original Bhagavatam or not? When did he speak? In Chatushloki. In terms of Chatushloki. Chatushloki is spoken by Lord Narayana to Brahmaji. That is considered original Bhagavatam. And then that particular Bhagavatam is further expanded by Sri Vyasadeva in this 18,000 verses. Okay. So he is speaking about that episode. Then in these 10 chapters, what is there? He says, Adhyayehi tribhi utkarsho bhaktehe. Bhakti ka utkarsh, the superiority of bhakti is spoken in 3 chapters. It is spoken in 3 chapters, not in 1 chapter. Okay. So it is spoken in 3 chapters. Ekena sannati harehe. By 1 chapter, sannati, samyak nati, very proper prayers to the Supreme Lord are spoken by 1 chapter. Which is that chapter? Which speaks the prayers to the Supreme Lord. That is the 4th chapter. Okay. So 3 chapters speak Bhakti's superiority. 1 chapter speaks Sannati Harehe. Hari, Bhagwan Hari ke prati Sannati, unke prati Pranam, Samyak Nati is spoken in 1 chapter. Further, Dhatuhu Naradasya Samvada Tribhi Uchyate. 3 chapters speak the Samvad, the conversation between Dhata and Narad. Who is Dhata? Who is Narad? Narad, you know, of course. Dhata, who is Dhata? Brahmaji. Brahmaji and Narad, their conversation is spoken in 3 chapters. So that is 5, 6, 7. Prashna Ekena. Parikshit's questions are spoken by 1 chapter. That is chapter 8th. Vishnu Padesh Ekena Dhatari. Dhata ko, Brahma ji ko Vishnu ka upadesh. Lord Vishnu's instructions to Dhata, Brahma ji are spoken in 1 chapter, which is that 9th. Ekena Lakshanani Asya. And in 1 chapter, the Lakshanas of entire Bhagavatam is spoken, which is that 10th. Iti Dashas, iti Skandha Sangraha. Dasha iti Skandha Sangraha. This is the 10 chapters. See, very clearly he told you what is what, in which 3 chapters superiority of bhakti, 1 chapter prayers to the Supreme Lord, 3 chapters Brahma Narad Samvad, 1 chapter Parikshit's question, Lord Vishnu's instructions, 1 chapter, and 1 chapter symptoms. Sarga Visarga, like that, all that. Fine. Tatratu Prathame Adhyaye Yamadhyashtanga Yoginaha Vairajya Murte Patal Pada Muladi Dharana. In that 1st chapter is describing 1 Ashtanga Yogi, meaning Ashtanga Yogi, who follows the path of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Dharana, Dhyan, all that, Pratyahar Dhyan, Dharana, Dhyan. So that particular yogi's Dharana is spoken, his meditation is spoken on what? Not on Paramatma, on Vairaj Murti. Vairaj Murti means universal form. Okay. Usually Ashtanga Yogi would meditate on whom? On Paramatma. But Ashtanga Yogi who is not yet purified, Ashuddha Chitta Ashtanga Yogi, one whose heart is not purified, it has a lot of desires for sense enjoyment, such a Ashtanga Yogi, he worships or rather meditates on Vairaj Murti, on the universal form. So that is what is spoken in this particular chapter. Srila Vishwan Chakravarti says that. Okay. So this is about the contents, the distribution of chapters, and what are they describing, like that. Further, read Maharaj Parikshit.
Maharaj Parikshit was glad to receive Sukadeva Goswami, and he was proud of being a descendant of Arjuna, the intimate friend of Krishna. Personally, he was very humble and meek, but he expressed his gladness that Lord Krishna was very kind to his grandfather, the son of Pandu, especially his own grandfather, Arjuna. And because Lord Krishna was always pleased with Maharaj Parikshit family, on the verge of Maharaj Parikshit's death, Sukadeva Goswami was sent to help him in the process of self-realization.
Read further.
Because the king hinted that worship of Lord Krishna is the ultimate function of every living entity, Sukadeva Goswami welcomed the suggestion and said, because you have raised question about Krishna, your question is most glorious.
So Prabhupada speaks now. This entire green colored highlight is based on Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary. He's speaking this on the basis of Jiva Goswami's commentary. He's saying, he's speaking about how Parikshit was very glad to receive Shukdev Goswami. You know the context. Shukdev Goswami appeared at the bank of Ganges to speak to Parikshit, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada is saying the king hinted that worship of Lord Krishna is the ultimate function of every living entity. Where did he hint actually? He already hinted to this Shukdev Goswami that what he wants to hear is about Krishna, like that. So where did he hint? So let us go back. The last chapter. So there are famous two verses which are the questions of Srila Shri Parikshit Maharaj. These two verses you can memorize. These two questions are basically the questions of Parikshit. Atha pruchhami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvatha. Read the translation.
You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons and especially for one who is about to die.
And then second question. Yat shrotravyam matho japyam yat kartavyam drabhi prabho smartavyam bhajaniyam va bruhi yadva viparyayam.
Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me.
Now, where in these two questions you found the hint that he should speak about Krishna? Is there any hint here like that? First is what? Atah pruchhami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum. I am asking for that samsiddhi. Purushesyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvatha. What is the duty of dying man? What is the duty of a man all the time? Sarvatha. Where is the hint that he should speak about Krishna? Yat shrotavyam atho japyam yat kartavyam nrbhi prabho. By the human beings, what is that should be heard? What is that should be chanted? What should be done? What should be remembered? What should be worshipped? Va bruhi yadva viparyayam. And please also speak the viparyaya. Speak what should not be heard, should not be spoken, should not be done, should not be remembered, should not be worshipped. So actually the hint is not there in these two. The hint is here. Prior to verses 35, 36. This is where his hint, Shri Jiva Goswami says that he's already saying that you should speak about Krishna. That is what I want to hear. So although he is asking that question, of course, Parikshit is Mahabhagavat himself. He knows what is the duty of dying man. But even in his words, he also hinted very clearly. And that is Jiva Goswami's opinion based on these two verses. What is this? Apime Bhagavan Pritah Krishna Pandu Sutah Priyah Paitrishvaseya Prityartham Tadgotrasyatta Bandhavah. Translation.
Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of King Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great cousin brothers.
And the next. Anyatha te vyaktadgater darshanam nah katham dranam nitaram riyamananam samsiddhasya vaniyasah.
Otherwise, without being inspired by Lord Krishna, how is it that you have voluntarily appeared here, though you are moving incognito to the common man and are not visible to us who are on the verge of death?
So Lord Krishna was extremely affectionate to my, grandfathers. And that's why, although I am not very qualified, that was Parikshit's mood. Still, he accepted me also as very dear to him, just to please his, devotees, Pandavas, like that. And he's saying, interestingly, further, that that same Lord Krishna has inspired you to come over here. Anyatha te avyakta darshe, aap avyakta gati ho. Nobody knows your whereabouts and where you will come, where you will go. But how is that on my deathbed, you have come over here? So this is showing that Lord Krishna's mercy is actually coming. That same Lord Krishna has inspired you to come over here. So the Lord who has inspired you to come over here, please speak the glories of that Lord, because he only has sent you. जिसने भेजा है उसकी तो ग्लोरी बोलनी पड़ेगी ना, तो किसकी ग्लोरी बोलेंगे? One who has sent you, naturally you will speak his glories, because he is the one who has inspired you to come over here and deliver me, like that. Otherwise, where is the question of somebody like you? Sa do godohan matram hi graheshu grahamedhinam avekshate mahabhagas tirthi kurvan stadashramam. Kya tha Shukdev Goswami ka quality? He would stay at a householder's house for only that much time, which will need to milk a cow. And avekshate mahabhagas, that much time he waits. तीर्थी कुर्वन् तदाश्रमम, उतने टाइम में उस गृहस्था के घर को तीर्थ बना देते थे. Just by that much association, he would तीर्थी कुर्वन्, उसको तीर्थ बना दिया उसके घर को. He made it completely auspicious, most auspicious. So such a person who how much time it takes to milk a cow? Those of you who have experience, what? Tell. Anybody has experience? 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that much only, like that. So a personality whose track record is not of staying more than 10 minutes at somebody's house, is ready to stay here all 7 days and 7 nights for somebody. So the person is, you understand his caliber, right? So how that is Shukdev, that is Parikshit's surprise, that you are such a person who will not stay in a householder's house even for 10 minutes. And I am such a person. For you, you have come here and you will be speaking now for delivering me over here. So how is this possible except being inspired by Lord Krishna? Anyatha, otherwise, meaning except the inspiration of Lord Krishna, except the mercy of Lord Krishna, except being sent by Lord Krishna, how is it possible that you would have come here? So because you have been sent by Lord Krishna, so please speak about Lord Krishna, like that. He is saying, Jiva Goswami writes that in his commentary. Raja Abhipraya Anantaram, he understood Raja's Abhipraya actually, that Raja wants to hear about Supreme Lord only. Anyhow, Shukdev would have spoken that also, that only. But point is, he hinted also. Our Parikshit Maharaj, he hinted. So when Prabhupada is saying that he hinted, so that is because of, based on this particular aspect that Srila Jiva Goswami speaks. Okay, like that. So I'll give some time for question answer. We'll cover some 2-3 verses, then we'll. Text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Varyanesha te prashnaha kruto loka hitam nripa atmavid sammatah pumsam shrotavyadishu yah para.
Translation. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists."
So Shri Shuka Uvacha, Shukdev Goswami began to speak. So when you start speaking, then you should do Mangalacharan, isn't it? It is Shishtachar, Shishta Parampara. Shishta, by Shishta you mean virtuous. by virtuous parampara, you should do Mangalacharan. But so much was he delighted by questions of Parikshit that he did not do Mangalacharan. And he directly started answering questions like that. And then later he does Mangalacharan in 4th chapter. After speaking and giving answers. In 4th chapter he says, prayers, very beautiful prayers to the Supreme Lord, like that. Otherwise, typically, you will see Mangalacharan. Vyasdev himself did Mangalacharan. In how many verses in the beginning? 3 verses. Sudha Goswami, when he was asked, he also did Mangalacharan. Yasvanubhavam akhila shruti yam pravrajantam anupetam apeta krityam narayanan namaskritya. उन्होंने तो 2 Mangalacharan किए. Narayan namaskritya is a sadharan Mangalacharan. And before that, these 2 verses is the Vishesh Mangalacharan. Vishesh Mangalacharan is done to one's own Guru. And Sadharan Mangalacharanam is done to all the Devatas and Sthan Devata, Adhisthata Devata and all that. So he also did Mangalacharan, right? Vyasdev did Mangalacharan. This is how typically they speak. But such was the delight in Shukdev Goswami hearing these questions of Parikshit. Purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvatha. Or, yat shrotavyam matho chapyam, yat kartavyam nrbhi prabho, smartavyam bhajaniyam va bruhi yadva viparyayam. That he directly started answering. Oh, he glorified. What a question. Oh, what a question. Sometimes speaker is very much happy with the question only, right? So then he, oh, wonderful, wonderful question. Nobody asked this question only is glorifying. Like that, then he will speak further. So like that, Shukdev, it's happening to Shukdev. So much delight that he forgot to do Mangalacharan. Like, and then he says, Varyanesha te prashnaha. Hey, Parikshit, te Varyan prashnaha krita. Te means tvaya, by you, a very, superior, first-class question has been asked. So he's writing question in singular, but he means to both the questions. Prashno, it is 2 questions actually, or multiple questions. What should be heard, what should not be heard, what should be remembered. So whatever, that all together he says, Prashna, your question, like that. Why is it glorious, Varyan? Why is it very glorious? Prabhupada writes, glorious question. Because lokahitam, it is actually for the benefit of mankind, benefit of all the people. And atmavit sammataha pumsam, that question is also approved by the transcendentalists. See, 3 characteristics he is speaking of this question. It is for the benefit of all the humankind, mankind. Second, it is atmavit sammataha pumsam, it is what it is approved by the greatest of transcendentalists, those who are the self-realized souls. They approve this question. Shrotavyadishu yahapara, and it is the highest subject matter. Highest subject matter in the things which should be heard, like that. Sometimes people ask question which is not for anybody's benefit, including his own also. Lokahitam. Swahitam is also not there. It is something like that. Like Prabhupada called such inquiries as absurd inquiries, useless inquiries, like that. When Putana fell down in the Upavan of Kamsa, how many trees she sweep off? Kya karna hai isse? Why? How is it relevant? You are some environmentalist or what? Like, talking about Putana's destruction of environment. Like, or what was the sewage system in Dwarka? Absurd inquiry, right? So lokahitam, there is some hita for oneself. See, in general, it's not a problem to ask questions. We can ask what sort of questions? We can ask all sorts of questions, no problem. But still, there should be some utility. At least it should address the information aspect, proper information aspect, like that. It shouldn't be just some weird question like that. Atmavit sammataha pumsam. It is also a subject matter approved by transcendentalists. See, it is also very important. Who approves your question? Sometimes in the material assembly also, somebody asks a question and then they will say, oh, sadhu, sadhu. I mean, their version of sadhu. Oh, what a question. Wow. Like, but are they Atmavit sammataha? Who are they? So who approves the question also is important. Very important, right? Otherwise, Shvavidvarahoshtra khare samsuta purushapash. Yat karna kathopeto jatu namagata. The people who are, people who don't have any sense of spiritual life, they will approve questions like that only. And then they will feel like, and if somebody asks a spiritual question in that assembly, that they will think that this is a fool. Why is asking such question like that, isn't it? So that's why he says, Atmavit sammataha pumsa. Shrotavya yah para. And this is the best topic. The answer to this question is the best topics among topics to be heard, chanted, remembered, like that. So it is a glorious question. So this tradition is there in which the question is glorified in Bhagavatam, many places, right? You know that. Even Sud Goswami appreciate that the questions of Shonakadi sages. How does it begin? Munaya sadhu prushtoham bhavadbhir lokamangalam yatkatah Krishna samprashno yenadmasu prasiddhati. Like that. Later, Shukdev also appreciates Parikshit question. Vasudev katha prashna purushanstrin punatihi vaktaram prachakam shrotrans tatpada salilam yatha. Even Prithu Maharaja's questions are appreciated by Kumaras. Sadhu Prushtam Maharaja. There also something similar is there. Maitreya appreciates Vidura's question. So this is a tradition. The question itself is very glorious because it is becoming the hetu, it is becoming the cause of the subject matter of Krishna Katha, cause of subject matter of Krishna Katha. So that is why the question itself is very, very glorious. So Prabhupada has written a purport based on Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. So please read purport.
Even the very question is so nice that it is the best subject matter for hearing. Simply by such questioning and hearing, one can achieve the highest perfectional stage of life.
Yeah, so Prabhupada is also saying, question itself is so nice actually, because it is the best subject matter for hearing. So among questions, there is something to be heard, meaning which are the questions to be heard. So your question is the subject matter, best question amongst the questions to be heard. And what I'll speak will be the subject matter which is best in answers to be heard. So yours is the best subject matter in questions to be heard. And what I'll speak will be the best subject matter in answers to be heard. That way he is saying like that. So question itself is glorious because it is concerned about, it is going to be opening up the discussion about Lord Krishna and the perfection of life, like that. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says that this question alone is going to make people's life successful. And what to speak of hearing the answers and applying them in their life, they will become completely, all perfection will be gained. Like that. Even if somebody has this jidnyasa, such a person will also be directed to the right path. That is his point. That's why question itself is glorious. And what to speak of, then you hear the answer of this from somebody like Shukdev Goswami. It will award all perfection to the personality. So that is why he is appreciating. So Prabhupada says that questions and answers about Krishna, they will elevate one to the transcendental position. So he speaks about that particular aspect, that how these questions, because they pertain to Krishna, so that's why they are most glorious. Further, read. So Maharaj Parikshit.
So Maharaj Parikshit requested Sukadeva Goswami to narrate the activities of Krishna so that he could engage his mind in Krishna. The activities of Krishna are non-different from Krishna himself. As long as one is engaged in hearing such transcendental activities of Krishna, he remains aloof from the conditional life of material existence. The topics of Lord Krishna are so auspicious that they purify the speaker, the hearer, and the inquirer. They are compared to the Ganges waters, which flows from the toe of Lord Krishna. Wherever the Ganges water go, They purify the land and the person who bathes in them.
So Prabhupada is quoting that. Vishwanath Chakravarti has quoted that verse, Vasudev Katha Prashna. So Prabhupada is also quoting that. Topics of Lord Krishna are so auspicious that they purify the speaker, Vaktaram, hearer, hearer is Shrotran, and inquirer Pritchakam. All three of them are purified. Just as Ganges purifies upper, lower, and middle planetary systems, or Shaligram water purifies one who is sprinkler, one who is getting the sprinkling, and one who is standing next to it. That is also the meaning of this verse. Both the meanings are there. Tat Pada Salilam. Tat refers to Shaligram, Lord Vishnu, and his Pada Salilam means water that has washed Shaligram Shila. It will purify somebody who is throwing the water, also one who is receiving, and the next person to him, although he may not get the water on his head, but he is in the vicinity. Sometimes we don't get that water, we say, I am Prabhuji, like that, right? That way. But anybody who is in next vicinity also is purified, it says, especially Shaligram Charnamritam. It is said that way. So the point is, that is the glory, just even vicinity. Now, vicinity means how much? Don't ask that question. 1 kilometer away, or how much that. So you understand basically what it means is he is observing. He is also seeing that it is being put on everyone. So like that. So that is the point. Questions are themselves glorified. So we want to ask such questions and hear such questions, discussion. Kaun banega crorepati questions are not useful. Although they make somebody as crorepati, they may make somebody, but are they atma with sammata pumsam? Are they shrotavyadishu yahapara? And are they lokahitam? Like that. Probably that one fellow's some economical hitam happens, but what about others? Like that. So we have to see. So that is the point. So question itself should be useful. So even in bhakti, we ask questions which are relevant, which are pertinent, which are not absurd inquiries. Questions are good, actually. Doubt is a function of intelligence. So that is fine. But the questions should be asked which are more pertinent. And also you can ask questions when understanding the speakers and their relish. Sometimes we see that the speaker may not relish technical information. And if you pester him with continuous technical questions, then you will get some mercy. Prasad, like that. Similarly, if somebody is more delights in practical application, you ask that kind of questions to the person, and you will get a great winning, even from his heart, nice realizations. And somebody who is having the technical aspects, you ask him the technical kind of questions. Over a period of time, hearing from various people, you do understand what kind of presentation is there, right? And accordingly, questions can be asked that way, like that. So sometimes somebody has a great delight in holy name, and you ask him some question about universal, planetary system or like that, then you will get terrible something like, what, you want to go there, in Swarga or like that, right? So point is, yes, he relishes a certain aspect of bhakti. So we ask about those aspects, like that. It is not with a judgmental mood, you understand, no? It is not with a judgmental mood, but it is from the sense that a person naturally delights in certain aspects of bhakti. And if you ask questions pertaining to that, then you will be getting great realizations, plus, heartfelt blessings of that devotee may come through that answer, like that. So that is how it is. Okay. Text 2. Or maybe, okay, it is just 1 hour is over. Is there any question before we proceed? You want to ask anything on what we discussed? Anyone has any question on what we discussed? Then we proceed. He starts answering the question now. So if there are no questions, we'll proceed. Okay. All right, Prabhu. Text 2. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nranam Santi Sahasrashah Apashyatam atma tattvam griheshu grahamedhinam. Read the translation.
Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor.
Yeah. So now he started answering the question. As we said, immediately he was so delighted that Shukdev Goswami, he remembered his question, glorified, appreciated, and started answering the question directly. So he began the answers with first Viparyaya. First three verses, 2, 3, 4, will answer the Viparyaya aspect. What is that Viparyaya? Second question of Parikshit was, Yat Shrotavyam Atho Japyam Yat Kartavyam Nrabhi Prabho Smartavyam Bhajaniyam Va Bruhi Yadva Viparyayam. What is not to be heard? What is not to be spoken? What is not to be remembered? So that is how he begins the discussion. Because what is to be heard, remembered, that discussion is going to be elaborate. That question will also generate a lot of questions in itself. He will address many ideas in that. So first he speaks what is not to be heard quickly. This is surely not to be done. This is not kartavya, bhajniya, smartavya, shotavya. So that is done in 3 verses, second, third, and fourth. So he speaks about the karmis. This can refer to sakam karmis, or it can refer to outright vikarmis, both way. So Prabhupada writes in terms of vikarmis. Vishwanath Chakravarti says that is referring to sakam karmis. This 2, 3, 4, like that. And of course, obviously it will refer to vikarmis also. So he says that as far as these people are concerned, who are griheshu grahamedhinam, these are the materialists who are staying in their household life. Grahamedhi, he's not speaking about grahastha, he's speaking about grahamedhi. How are they? Apashyatam atma tattvam. They don't see the absolute truth or atma tattva. They don't have any sense of self-realization. They are devoid of the knowledge of self-realization. Apashyatam, those who are not pashyatam, balki apashyatam. See, for them, he says, they have many, many topics for doing shrotavya, kirtitavya, smartavya. But one should not do it. That is his point. See, for the materialist people, there are hundreds, thousands of topics, sahasrasha, thousands of topics for discussing and all that. But one should not do this, because these are for materialists. These are for those who don't see the Atma Tattva. These are for grahamedhis. So that is why this is not to be done, he is saying. Shrotavyadini Rajendra, like that. So thousands of topics they have. That is his point, like that. So here, grahamedhi means somebody who does, you know the meaning of word grahamedhi. What does it mean? Where Krishna is not the center. So that meaning is taken from graha medhi, medhi as the pole, as the stambha. So graha hi jiska medhi hai, stambha hai, pole hai, center, one whose center is graha, and that center is, graha means what? Actually, graha means bharya, graha means wife. Otherwise, brahmachari is also staying in graha. No? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used the terms mathastha and mathamedhi. You have heard, in his essays. Just as there is grahastha and grahamedhi, Bhaktisiddhanta said there is mathastha and mathamedhi. Matha meaning here, brahmachari, ashram, ashram, matha. So he said, we don't want to become grahamedhi, neither we want to become mathamedhi. मतलब मठ का जो पोल है, पिलर है, whatever. Basically one who is attached to the facility of matha, and he is not doing anything substantial. He is not doing his sadhana or service, not following instructions of superiors. He's not engaged in nicely, just eating nice, enjoying life, like that. So that is matha medhi, Bhaktisiddhanta said. So graha medhi is that meaning one. Another meaning here, which is there, which is Sridhar Swami speaks, is medhi means himsa, medhru himsayam. That dhatu, med, means to hurt or injure or to kill. Because grahasthashram is filled with 5 kinds of sins, so that's why it is known as grahamedhi. In grahasthashram, there are 5 kinds of sin. You know that they are known as panchasuna. What are these? So Manu speaks about this. Kandani, Peshani, Chulli, Udakumbhi, Chamarjani, Panchasuna Grahastasya, Tabhi Swargam Navindati. He says, Kandani. Kandani means what? You have a grinding mortar and you have the pestle. Kandan, meaning Marathi mein the kanda, masale banane ke liye, spices, or even, you can have things like for making some atta also and all that also. So you have the mortar and the pestle by which you grind things like that. And then peshani is especially by which you make the paste. So that one, paste making mortar, grindstone. Chulli is chula. Chulli means chula, which means the stove. Udakumbhi means water, water which is stored. Udakumbhi. And marjani means the broomstick. So what happens when somebody is making spices or is grinding the paste or is lighting fire in chula or is filling up the water or is sweeping the floor, many living entities are killed. So that's why these 5 are considered the sources of sin in grahasthashram. Panchasuna grahasthasya tabhi swargam na vindati. He says that is why somebody who doesn't do those 5 kinds of yajnas, deva yajna, pitri yajna, 5 kinds of yajnas are for nullifying these 5 kinds of sins. So such a person will not be able to achieve swarga. Like that says Manu. So practically, this is spoken in an era where a sannyasi or a brahmachari is not going to use any of this. But now with our current setup, this text becomes applicable in both cases, isn't it? Like that, Kandani, Peshani, Chulli, Udakumbhi. In fact, probably bigger level, right? Uska chulla to bichare ka chota sa rahega itna. Like that, we have bigger chulla, bigger arrangement for mortar, grindstone and everything. So point is, it is unavoidable. So that's why those 5 kinds of sacrifices which are mentioned for grahasthashram, for those who take to the renounced order of life, then we chant Hare Krishna, we follow the principles by which, these inherent sins which are there in living in the material world, so they are nullified like that. So, but because it is primarily there in grahasthashram, so it is grahamedhi. That is why it is said medhi. That is one meaning. Another meaning that is there. So Prabhupada takes this meaning in his purport actually. Sridhar Swami has spoken this meaning and Prabhupada takes this meaning when he speaks. Read Prabhupada's purport.
One is Grahastha and the other is Grahamedi. The Grahasthas are those who live together with wife and children, but live transcendentally for realizing the ultimate truth. The Grahamedis, however, are those who live only for the benefit of the family members, extended or centralized, and thus are envious of others. The word Medhi indicates jealousy of others.
So that is coming from there. Medhru himsayam. Himsa. To hurt, to injure, to kill, jealous. All that is Prabhupada is referring to that. Yes, read Prabhu.
The Grahamedis, being interested in family affairs only, are certainly envious of others. Therefore, one Grahamedi is not on good terms with another Grahamedi, and in the extended form, one community, society, or nation is not on good terms with another counterpart of selfish interest.
So this we see that, right, in materialist life, this is quite a striking sign of envy. There is so much of envy, competition. Matsar is there for each other, right? And whole material civilization also gears one to create that feeling of matsar, feeling of envy, like that. So they want others to become envious of them. They want to flaunt their material opulence in such a way that people will become envious. Neighbors envy, owner's pride. When we were children, that time this line was very famous for one of advertisement of a television. So this television, anybody who possesses, it is owner's pride and neighbor's envy, meaning neighbor will be envious of you. Like that it will be. So envy in material world, actually people are hardly they appreciate each other, and they don't have any, very rarely people have well-wishing feeling towards another. Parotkarsha asahanam, that is matsar. Srila Sridhar Swami defines matsar as parotkarsha asahanam. दूसरे का उत्कर्ष सहन नहीं कर पाता है. So that is known as matsar. So that is a, Prabhupada uses jealousy, envy in interchangeable way. Envy is deadly actually. If you go by plain English meaning, jealousy is just that, I wish I could have it, just as what you have, wish I could also have it. But envy means that if I don't have it, you should also not have it. So let us work, let us do something by which you also lose it. That will be envy. Envy is little deep rooted that way. Prabhupada uses sometimes interchangeable, no problem. So the point is that that is how it is, like that famous story all of you must be telling also in your preachings, that one man got a hypothetical story. One man got a benediction from God. Whatever you get, your neighbor gets twice of it. So you ask for a flashy car, he gets 2. So then he said, okay. So God has given benediction. So immediately he asked, he said, give me some very luxurious car. So as soon as he was so happy, but he saw in the neighbor 2 cars. Then he said, give me a big mansion. So as soon as he got 1 mansion, neighbor, 2 mansions. So he understood, now this is the last chance to ask. So how to ask in a way that my neighbor is not going to benefit, rather he should be destroyed. So he said, oh Lord, pluck out my 1 eye. So what happened to neighbor? Both the eyes got plucked out. So he became blind. It's a fictional story, but to show the nature of envy, that he is okay to even hurt his own eye, but the neighbor should not get it, like that. So that is the nature of material world. But Bhagavatam is for nirmatsaranam satam. It's in the beginning only setting the entry criterion. Of course, if we are trying to give up that matsar, then also okay. Vishwanath Chakravarti says nirmatsaranam satam is not the adhikari criteria. He says that it is the criteria of a siddha who can relish Bhagavatam without any hindrance. So if somebody is also having matsar, still he should hear, he says, and then he should try to give it up. It is Nirmatsaranam Satam is the adhikarita of siddha of Bhagavatam, not the sadhaka of Bhagavatam. So sadhaka should strive to give it up. Otherwise, hum log kaise sunenge Bhagavatam, right? Entry criteria finished, out from there. But he says that yes, one who is trying to give it up sincerely, such a person is also allowed to hear and develop. But one will be able to really take relish of Bhagavatam when he becomes free from envy. That is why Nirmatsaranam Satam, that way. Read further, Prabhu, in age of Kali.
In the age of Kali, all householders are jealous of one another because they are blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth. They have many subject matters for hearing, political, scientific, social, economic, and so on. But due to a pure fund of knowledge, they set aside the question of the ultimate miseries of life, namely miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease.
Yeah, so these days all the more you can see, right? So many topics of discussion. Shrotavyam, smartavyam, drishya, drashtavyam, meaning they want to see on the YouTube and videos and all that. So many different topics. Somebody gets into it, it is like a net. He clicks on one, something else opens, then something else opens. It's bewildered completely, especially We see that on internet and all that. So many topics, Shrotavyadini Rajendra. So this, that, like that. So nobody, meaning not, people are not interested so much in discussing spiritual life and all that. But we see that on the material front, though, they have thousands of topics like that. So thereby they keep themselves perpetually away from spiritual life. So he's condemning this, Srila Shukdev Goswami, that this is the point, that they have thousands of such topics, and so unfortunate they keep themselves away from the topics of Atma Tattva, like that. So finally Prabhupada says that that is why process of going back home, back to Godhead, is to hear about Supreme Lord, and his name, form, and all that. So he says one should not therefore become Grahamedhi simply to exist for envying others. One should become a real householder, Grihastha, in terms of the scriptural injunctions. So that is it. This is a condemnation of a Grahamedhi only, not of a Grihastha, like that. Text 3. Nidraya riyate nattam vyavayena chavavayah divacharthe hayarajan kutumba bharane nava. Yes, Prabhu.
The lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night, either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime, either in making money or maintain family members.
Yeah. So such a person's, how his life is completely wasted, is spoken over here. Such a person's ayu vyatha vyaya, wo jo vratha, just a futile wastage of his life is spoken in these verses. Such a person who is spending his time in materialistic topics. So his life is just destroyed uselessly. That is what is spoken over here. So how is his vaya, meaning the duration of life, is destroyed in the night? Nidraya. Nidraya nirihate naktam vayah. रात्रि का आयुमान निद्रा के द्वारा खींच लिया जाता है, like that he is speaking. Naktam vayam nidraya rihate va vyavayena. Either by sleep the duration of life in the night is taken away, is stolen, or by vyavaya, by sex indulgence. And then when it is day, diva vayah, in the daytime, how that vayas, the duration of life, is taken away, either by artha iha, artheha, his plans, enterprises for earning money, or kutumba bharanena, or when he earns the money, spending the money, kutumba bharan, trying to meet the needs by whatever he has earned. So two activities waste his time in the night. What is that? Nidra and vyavaya. And two activities waste his daytime. What is that? Artheha, artha iha, arthki iha, the desire and the necessary efforts for earning the money, artha. And once you earn the money, then siddhe arthe, artha siddha ho gaya to kutumba bharanena. Then by trying to meet the needs of the society, the family, trying to bharan poshan karna unka, like that. So this is how they are wasting their life. Nothing else in the life. No time for Atma Tattva, no time for spiritual life. So this is his point, like that. So Prabhupada also speaks about this. Read the second para. Yes, bro, highlighted portion.
Those men who are too materialistic are unaware of this knowledge and are more inclined to economic development for material enjoyment. Such materialistic men are called karmis or fruitive laborers, and they are allowed regulated economic development and association of women for sex indulgences. Those who are above the karmis, that is, jnanis, yogis, and devotees, are strictly provided from sex indulgences. The karmis are more or less devoid of Atma Tattva knowledge, and such as their life is spent without spiritual profit.
Yeah, so Prabhupada is saying these karmis, whether it means Vedic karmis or the modern karmis, which will mean vikarmis. So their life is wasted in these things only, with vyavaya and nidra, like that. So because they are unrestrictedly engaged in such activities, like that. But as far as karmis, jnanis, yogis and devotees, this is not pravrutti marga. It is Nivrutti Marga. So it speaks about prohibition, it speaks about regulation, and then giving it up. In the path of Karmakand, they will not so much speak about giving it up. There is also in that life, there is some regulation which is spoken, but primarily it is encouraged in Pravrutti Marga. It will not so much condemn the sensual enjoyment and all that. It will glorify it, in fact. It will glorify, it will say to aspire for higher standards of that sensual enjoyment. That way. So fine, purpose is there for gradual purification, but still Pravrutti Marga glorifies. Nivrutti Marga criticizes that particular materialistic enjoyment. So that's why Prabhupada is writing like that. They are strictly prohibited that way. So especially devotees, there may be also grahastas in devotee life, but that is still Nivrutti Marga. It is not Pravrutti Marga. They are trying to give it up. They understand its futility. And jnanis, yogis, there is no question only. They cannot accept this meaning path of sensual intelligence. Jnani means the beginning criteria is he should be yati. He should be sannyasi. And yogi also, only till pranayam he can follow by being in the nishkam karma, After pranayam, which is the stage of hatha yoga, then for pratyahar, he has to become yati. There he also has to take sannyas. So these both paths, they cannot be practiced only. The entry criterion itself is like that, where one has to disassociate himself from woman's association. Like that. So jnani and yogi, that is how. And for devotees also, the path is to, get rid of that enjoyment only. Only thing is that the process is shravanam kirtanam, and that shushka vairagya accept is not so much, aspect is not so much stressed. Shushka vairagya is not so much stressed. Even if somebody, shravanam kirtanam is stressed. Even if somebody is in yati sannyasashram or somebody is in grahasthashram, both are fine, but the focus is on shravanam kirtanam. But for these other two paths, because the process is very difficult, and also process is quite dependent on many criteria like antakaran shuddhi and all that. So they don't just, they can't accept only anybody who is still in varnashram and can do such things. It's not possible like that in these paths. Okay. Finally, Prabhupada says, the materialistic way of life is described here in a nutshell, and how foolishly men waste the boon of human life is described as follows. So this is nutshell, materialistic way of life in a nutshell, right? The day is spent in this, night is spent in this, life is finished that way, right? So in fact, in contemporary times, though, even this, meaning these criteria also will be, they go further down now, because there is no kutumba only. Fellow is completely, without any family or like that. So night is going in nidra and vyavaya, and day is also going that only. Day, night he is sleeping and he is indulging in sense indulgence. That's it. As far as responsibility of life, there is no kutumba only. So he doesn't have to earn. He will, or whatever little bit he has to earn. So that much he can earn and beg, borrow, steal or whatever like that. So kutumba bharan ke liye to bechara wo kaam karta hai, sakam karmi. But here these are become our modern times. We see that they are so useless. They don't want family only, just live in, that's it. And no conception of any family and protecting a family like that, that way. So it is just extreme degradation in modern times, in fact. Take one more verse speaking viparyaya. Deha patyakalatra atmasainyeshva satsvapi tesham pramatto nidhanam pashyannapi na pashyati.
Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction.
So these people's destruction and is spoken over here. So finally, how does it, where do they get led to? Dehapatya kalatradishu atma sainyashu asatsvapi. So they have some atma sainya. They have a great army. Atma sainya meaning they have their army, one's own army. What is that army? Deha. उसमें कुछ foot soldiers है. Some are cavalry, some are elephant. Chaturangini sena. So deha patya kalatradishu. So deha, their own body is one group of soldiers, phalanx. Apatya, their children. Kalatra, their wife. Adi, relatives, bank balance, land, cars, this, that, and all that. So they consider this all as Atma Sainya. They consider this as their army. Acha, army. So whom do they want to fight with? They want to fight with time, Vishwanath Chakravarti says. The war is with time. Kala. Kalena saha yodhum. भाई काल के साथ युद्ध करने के लिए मेरे पास मेरी आर्मी है. कौन सी आर्मी? देहा पत्य कलत्रादिशु. But he says that army is asat. Asatsvapi. That army is asat. It is asamartha. It is incapable. You are taking an army trying to fight with Kala. But your army is asat. It is mithya bhuta. So it can mean that it is the soul has nothing to do with body. So that's why it is actually false army. Or it can mean also asat means asamartha. It is incapable. It cannot protect you. It is like big army, but you are certain that you are going to get defeated. Like that. So because they are Krishna Bahirmukh, Vishwanath Chakravarti says, because they have turned their faces away, that's why they are asat. If that same army is Krishna Unmukh, then it is an army which is not asat. Then it will be sat. So you understand this? Then his own body, then his own apatyas, kalatra, if they are all Krishna Unmukh, if they are all turning their faces towards Krishna, then it will not be called as asat. Because all of them will in turn help him to conquer the time. That doesn't mean he will not die, but he will be able to die for the last time. He will be able to conquer time and attain the spiritual realm. Okay. So why are they asat sainya? Because they are Krishna Bahirmukh. And that is why they are asamartha. They are incapable. That is the point. So you take such army, tesham pramatto nidhanam, pashyanapi na pashyati. So although he has seen that, this army has got destroyed before also, but still, because of not understanding it, because of being too much pramatta attached, although his army has got destroyed before, still he sees it but doesn't see it. What does it mean? See, it means that he had seen that भाई मेरी आर्मी का पिछला कमांडर था मेरे पिताजी, चले गए. उसके पहले कौन था? दादाजी, चले गए. दादी चली गई. उनके पास और कुछ जो भी साधन थे, they are all destroyed. So that is tesham nidhanam. Although he sees the destruction of his prior army members and all that, but still he doesn't understand. Pashyan na pashyati. Why? Because pramatta, he's very much attached. He's bewildered. He doesn't understand because of the great attachment. He feels, no, these will protect me. It will not happen to me. All these things this way. So tesham nidhanam, unka nidhan, meaning the destruction of his pita, destruction of his prapita, pitamaha, prapitamaha, and all that. That is what is being spoken over here, like that. So it is like Jarasandha. You bring army, your army is defeated so many times, but then still he is bringing the army. Knowing that the army was destroyed before, still he is bringing again. But at least there the army was getting killed by Krishna, But here the army is getting killed by Kala. So meaning certain repeated birth and death. It is not like Krishna. Hatari gati dayak. Kal matlab wo वापस आने वाला. He is going to get, meaning the person who is dead by Kala is going to get again body and repeated birth and death. So that is tesham pramatto nidhanam. like that. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that here, this in turn is showing that actually those who are devotees and those who are the devotees, all these dependents, they will not be defeated by time. So he's contrasting it with the materialist people, a Sat Sainya and Sat Sainya, this way. So although we know that both will be destroyed, their bodies will be destroyed, but one will be destroyed to enter again in repeated birth and death, and another will be destroyed externally, but they will be going back to the spiritual world. So that is why he makes that comparison. So ayur harati vai pumsam buddhyanastanna chayas yannaso yas tasyarte yat kshanonita uttama shloka vartaya. Same rising and setting, nidraya rihate naktam ja raha tha iska, but for a devotee, rising and setting of that sun, that is going to take him closer and closer to the Lord. So he is not being defeated. He is being actually becoming victorious that way. So Vishwanath Chakravarti brings up that good contrast also in this purport. Read Prabhupada.
In the human form of life, a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of this great struggle for existence. But being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc. Although he is sufficiently experienced in the matter by dint of past experience and previous examples of his deceased predecessors, he does not see that the so-called fighting soldiers, like the children, relatives, society members, and countrymen, are all fallible in the great struggle.
So you can see clearly he is speaking these concepts, Prabhupada. He wants to win over invincible material nature, so-called fighting soldiers. So Prabhupada is speaking on the basis of Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary here. It's a war against Kala, and in that his Atma Sainya is being destroyed, like that. So, but one still, Pashyan api na pashyati, although he has past experience of his deceased predecessors, Prabhupada says, like that. No one will survive in this struggle with material nature. See, that is it. The history of human society definitely proves it. Prabhupada says that, right? In one essay, Ravindra Swarup Prabhu writes, one of the Prabhupada disciples, that history is the story of rich, talented, ambitious, successful, enterprising, dead people. Final adjective is dead. They are all qualified, everything, but they are dead. They are gone, finished. So that is history actually. They might be successful, this, that, and all, but then nobody will survive in the struggle of material nature. Only those who take to the shelter of Krishna consciousness, they will survive. Meaning, they will, although they will also give up the body, but Prabhupada said once that they are giving up the body for the last time. Prabhupada said, one person asked, do devotees not die? Do they not give up the body? Prabhupada said, yes, but they give up the body for the last time. Like that. So now after this, they want to go back to spiritual world, like that. So Prabhupada has written, meaning eloquent purport actually. Words are very amazing. So that's why I want you to read this. Read this material world.
This material world exists only as a dream due to our attachment to it. Otherwise, the living soul is always different from the material nature. The great ocean of material nature is tossing with the waves of time, and the so-called living conditions are something like foaming bubbles, which appear before us as bodily self, wife, children, society, countrymen, etc. Due to a lack of knowledge of the self, we become victimized by the force of ignorance, and thus spoil the valuable energy of human life in a vain search after permanent living conditions, which are impossible in this material world.
Yes. So he's writing, great ocean of material nature is tossing with waves of time, and so-called living conditions are something like foaming bubbles. Ocean of material world, and the waves are the time, and in that some bubble is a part. Like, bubble is formed and it, it is burst. Similarly, he is saying that our life is there like that. So, but we see that it is taken so much seriously, in the sense, what he's trying to say, that is saying that the life is in this material world is so uncertain, isn't it? When somebody will disappear, die, there's no guarantee actually like that. And in the huge span of time, that lifespan of human being is so small like that. So it's like a foaming bubble. So just as bubble is seen for some time and then it breaks, like that it is. But then still people so much take it seriously, especially in terms of wasting their life in material enjoyment. Life should be taken seriously, no doubt about it, but not like for the purpose of sense enjoyment, but for the purpose of spiritual life. See, Prabhupada speaks this statement also very famous. Read, Prabhu. Whole materialistic.
The whole materialistic advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of a dead body. Everyone is a dead body flapping only for a few days, and yet all the energy of human life is being wasted in the decoration of this dead body.
Dead body flapping only for a few days. Our body dead body hai, but flapping for some time like that, then stop again like that. So Prabhupada is writing very strong words. Dead body flapping only for a few days, because yes, body is dead only, right? And it flaps for some time, 50 years, 60 years, whatever, or even less sometimes, and then it is done. That body is again a dead body, next destination, whatever. But all the energy of human life is so much wasted in decoration of this dead body only. Mandanam lokaranjanam. So that is the point of this verse. Fine. Text 5. So that is why what should be done? Viparya is spoken in 3 verses. So now he speaks. So that is why what should be done. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagwan Ishvaro Harihi Shrotavyah Kirtitavyascha Smartavyascha Bhayam.
O descendant of King Bharat, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries.
Yeah. So Tasmad, therefore. So because he has spoken all these things, right? So that's why don't get engaged into sakam karma or vikarma, materialistic life. Tasmad. So that's why karma is not to be performed, in the sense sakam karma is not to be performed. So instead, what should be done? Bhagavan Harihi Shrotavyah Kirtitavyah Smartavyah Ichchata Bhayam. Isliye Abhayam Ichchata, by the one who is desiring fearlessness, by him Bhagavan Harihi Shrotavyah. Bhagavan Hari should be heard. Bhagavan Hari Kirtitavya. Bhagavan Hari should be glorified. Bhagavan Hari hi smartavya. Bhagavan Hari should be remembered. That is how he has written the verse, meaning spoken the verse. That. So this is why, because karma is useless, path of karma is useless. So that is why Abhayam Ichchata, one who really is desiring for fearlessness, such a person, he should worship Lord Hari, remember him, hear his glories, chant his glories, like that. Now in this verse, there are 3 adjectives for the word Hari, and Vishwan Chakravarti gives a very nice commentary on that. Prabhupada refers to those ideas even in his purport. So that's why I'm telling it before, because you look at the verse and understand it, then you clearly understand where Prabhupada is speaking what. So Hari word is here noun, and there are 3 adjectives for Hari. What are they? Sarvatma, Bhagavan, Ishvara. Okay. So these 3 words are showing 3 different types of bhakti. That is why the verse is written like that. Sarvatma, Bhagavan, and Ishvara, they speak about 3 kinds of bhakti. Hari is Vishesha, noun, And all these three are Visheshanas, adjectives. Okay. So Sarvatma speaks about a bhakti which gives moksha, mokshabhisandhini bhakti. Bhagavan speaks about Raganuga bhakti, and Ishvara speaks about Vaidhi bhakti. Okay. These three adjectives are showing three different kinds of bhakti. And all of them, for all of them, Hari is to be glorified, Hari is to be remembered, Hari is to be chanted, Hari is to be understood the main sadhana that way. So Sarvatma means Paramatma. So the soul of all living beings. Prabhupada, how does it translate? Super soul, yes. So Sarvatma, this is the path of moksha abhisandhini bhakti. Matlab moksha ki abhisandhi, matlab those who desire moksha. Even those who desire moksha, do they have to worship Lord Vishnu, Narayana, or they don't have to worship Narayana? What is your understanding? They have to worship. What if they don't worship? They don't worship because they want to go to Sayujya Mukti. Why should they worship Lord Vishnu? Can they achieve Mukti in that case? Okay, yes. So Sarvatma Moksha Bhisandhini Bhakti means what here? It is actually talking about Bhakti Mishra Yoga. Okay. Bhakti Mishra Yoga, in that the goal is not going back home, back to Godhead. It is not establishing our relationship with Krishna, but it is primarily getting Sayujya Mukti. So although they follow the path of yoga, but what they want is Mukti. See, Mukti is achieved by two paths, Jnana as well as Yoga. You know that Jnana path's goal is what? Sayujya Mukti. And Yoga path's goal is what? It can be two, Sayujya Mukti, or it can be the other Muktis or Shantaras. Both can be their goals. See, Sakam Karma's sadhan is Varnashram, goal is Swarga. Nishkam Karma's sadhan is Varnashram, goal is Atmadnyan. Jnana's goal is Moksha, sadhan is Vedanta study. Yoga process, sadhan is Yamaniyam, and goal is Moksha, or goal is Shantaras, goal is Salokyadi. Bhakti process, sadhan is Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, and the goal is Prema. Sadhya sadhan, you should be very clear with Sadhya sadhan. Sakam Karma, Sadhya is Swarga, but the sadhan is this Varnashram only, in Varnashram duties. Nishkam Karma person also, he has sadhan as Varnashram only, but his goal is not Swarga. His goal is Jnana, Atmadnyan. By doing his duties, he wants to become detached from any fruits of action and come to the understanding, realization that he is not body, but he is spirit soul. So that is Nishkam Karma Yoga's goal, Atmadnyan. The path of Jnana has the goal of what? It has the goal of Moksha, Sayujya. The path of Yoga, it has the goal of Moksha, Sayujya. Or it can have a goal of, as I said, Shantaras or Salokyadi, such Muktis. So when here it says Sarvatma, it is referring to Bhakti Mishra Yoga. It is not referring to Yoga Mishra Bhakti. These two are different. Bhakti Mishra Yoga, the goal is Moksha. Yoga Mishra Bhakti, the goal is Vaikuntha. Only it has certain elements of yoga in it. Similarly, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, we will study this, it will come later also. Jnana Mishra Bhakti's goal is Moksha. Sorry, Jnana Mishra Bhakti's goal is Shantaras. But Bhakti Mishra Jnana's goal is the Moksha, Sayujya Moksha. तो जो मिश्रण है ना, उसको छोड़ के चीज जो है वो प्रधान है. Meaning, if I say Bhakti Mishra Jnana, meaning here what is prominent? Jnana is prominent. And Bhakti is a mixture. Bhakti Mishra Yoga, what is prominent? Yoga. Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Bhakti is prominent. So such people will go to Vaikuntha. But they have a mishran of yoga, meaning what? They have some practices that they do of yoga, but they are qualified to go back home. Jnana Mishra Bhakti, such a person is also qualified to go back home, but he achieves only Shantaras. He cannot achieve beyond. So that Mishran is Mishran in the sense of only in their sadhana, some elements of jnana are there. It is not a Mishran in the sense of they are not pure, that the pure devotional service is not there. Otherwise, how will they qualify to go back home, back to God? But they can qualify for a certain rasa only, like Shantaras only in this case, by Jnana Mishra. So later the discussion will come in appropriate context. I'll explain to you, no problem. Here what I want to tell is Sarvatma is talking about moksha bhisandhini bhakti, means what? That bhakti which will give him moksha. So what is it actually? It is basically Bhakti Mishra Jnana or Bhakti Mishra Yoga. Because as a devotee, will he desire moksha? He will not desire moksha. Especially the moksha by that we mean sayuja, So these people who are jnanis and yogis, they also have to have bhakti. If they don't have bhakti, they cannot achieve moksha. That is the point. That is the siddhanta. If they don't have bhakti, if they consider Krishna as Maya, they consider Krishna as made up of matter, they cannot achieve moksha. It is not possible. They will just never be able to achieve only Brahma Jyoti. So their conception about Krishna has to be very clear. Otherwise, Jnani will never be able to achieve Brahma Jyoti. Same way, Yogi will never be able to achieve this Brahma Jyoti. So what is their uniqueness or whatever their peculiarity is that they worship Krishna, they hear his glories, they chant his glories, but then they say, but we want moksha, like that. So what they do is they meditate on Lord Vishnu, and once they become completely pure, their antakaran becomes shuddha, then they give up that meditation. So that rejection is not considered that they are considering Krishna to be Maya. It is not that way. This is there in the 3rd canto. You will read 28th chapter. Chitta badisham shanakai viyungte, it is said. Their chitta is like the hook, badish, and Paramatma is like Amish. Paramatma is like the bet on the hook. So because their chitta is too much agitated with sensual desire, they put the Amish bet of Paramatma on their chitta, and they pacify that, meditate on that Paramatma. They, his beauty, his Shravanam Kirtanam also they do. Yogis also do Shravanam Kirtanam. नहीं तो वो परमात्मा पे ध्यान कैसे करेंगे अगर सुना नहीं है तो? So they hear, they understand that he is Supreme Lord. But once they become pure, their antakaran becomes shuddha. Chitta badisham shanakai viyungte. वो चित्त का जो हुक है ना निकाल लेते हैं वो परमात्मा से, like that. And that is not considered rejection of Paramatma like Mayavadis. Otherwise, they will never be able to achieve Sayujya Mukti. So it is said after that, Vishwan Chakravarti says that still obviously he's unfortunate yogi, because जिसको इतना भगवान के ऊपर ध्यान करने का अवसर मिला, he has also achieved samadhi on that Supreme Lord. He is able to constantly meditate on him. But from there, he gives up that meditation. And then he merges into Brahman, impersonal Brahma, like that. So because his nature is not offensive like Mayavadi, so he is able to achieve Sayujya. So that is called as Moksha Bhisandhini. You understand? So these people are the ones who take Lord Vishnu's mercy and they achieve moksha that way. So they will not have the misunderstanding that Lord is Maya or like that. No, they will not have. But they have their own attraction for Brahma Jyoti because of their Purva Samskaras, or whatever it is, this way. So that is Sarvatma. Bhagavan is, so what he wants to tell is, even for such people, Hari is only Smartavya, Shrotavya. तो उनके साधन में Lord Hari's meditation, Shravanam is a big time thing. It is not just some passing thing. If you study 3.28, their yoga process is described by him, Vishwanath Chakravarti, for those who are Bhakti Mishra yogis. So it's a big time sadhan in there also. That's why he is saying Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavya and all that. This way. Then second is Bhagavan, which is Raganuga Bhakti, because Bhagavan is the most delightful Lord with Nam Roop Aishwarya, Nam Roop Guna Leela, beautiful Lord, filled with all Bhagas, Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashasya Jnana Vairagya Yascho Chapi, Shannam Bhaga Itingana. So he is that supreme beautiful Lord, filled with Nam Roop Guna Leela, Seva and all. So this bhakti shows the bhakti of Raganuga level, and Ishvara shows the bhakti of Vaidhi level, because in Ishvara, with that Visheshan, comes the sense of that he has the Jnana of Lord's Aishwarya. Ishwar se Aishwarya aata hai, like that. So because he has Mahatmya Jnana or Ishwar Jnana, he considers Lord as the Supreme Lord and wants him to protect him. So that bhakti is considered Vaidhi. It is typically Vaidhi's nature to be Lord having Aishwarya Jnana. Raganuga is free from Aishwarya Jnana. It is only Madhurya. But Aishwarya Jnana means it is Vaidhi Bhakti. So these three bhaktis are shown through this verse as per Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So accordingly, Abhayam will also change. Abhayam Ichhata. जिसको अभय चाहिए उसने सर्वात्मा हरि की भक्ति करनी चाहिए. तो that abhay would mean moksha then, because he's moksha abhisandini. जिसको अभय चाहिए उसने भगवान की हरि की भक्ति करनी चाहिए. What will abhay mean in this case? Bhagavan meaning Raganuga bhakti, prema, exactly. And one who wants abhayam should worship that Ishvara. So what will be abhayam over here? So here especially abhayam will be protection of the Lord. See, Vaidhi Bhakta has also the aspect of that may Lord deliver me from the material existence. That is there within his heart. Lord is the protector. Atmatran, Lord is my shelter. And may he deliver me from the material existence. That aspect is prominently there within Vaidhi Bhakta's bhakti. So that's why these three have been spoken in that way. Okay, so I will stop with this. Prabhupada's purport will take and we'll stop. So Prabhupada first explains that in previous verse, the Viparya was spoken. Now this verse will speak about the aspect of what should be done. So read, therefore.
Therefore, one should first of all hear about the Lord. When one has perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, one must glorify his acts and deeds, and thus it will become possible to remember constantly the transcendental nature of the Lord. Hearing about and glorifying the Lord are identical with the transcendental nature of the Lord, and by so doing, one will be always in the association of the Lord.
Yes. So that's why first Shrotavya is spoken. First, it all begins with Shravanam. Shravanam is the fundamental aspect in Bhakti Sadhan. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So Shravanam is the first thing. Once somebody has done very good Shravanam, then he can become Adhikari for Kirtanam and Smaranam and all that. Without doing proper Shravanam, then one will not be able to do Kirtanam and all that. So Kirtanam has a great adhikar. In fact, Kirtanam means it's a adhikar of only those who are free from all the contamination, Nivrutta Tarshayar. But still, those who are desiring for that can also speak. But hearing has no adhikar. In the sense, hearing is just Shraddha, Jata Shraddha. Anybody who had Shraddha can hear. But Kirtanam has a big qualification, technically. But Prabhupada does say that anybody who accepts Krishna consciousness and the goal of becoming that Nivrutta Darshan, such a person can also speak Krishna Katha. Otherwise, there will be so much dearth of preaching. So that's why for preaching, everybody should speak like that. But he accepts the goal that he wants to be that Nivrutta Darshi and knows also that that is the real standard to do Kirtanam actually. that way. So Prabhupada is saying, so that's why one should first of all hear about the Lord. This is the aspect. Then he is speaking here now. There are many classes of human beings: fruitive workers, empiric philosophers, mystic yogis, and ultimately unalloyed devotees. For all of them, one and the same process is applicable for achieving the desired success. So see, this is why he is speaking that point, that even the fruitive workers, sakam karmis or nishkam karmis, or the jnanis, or the yogis, or devotees, all of them have to have bhakti within their process, at least at the sadhan level, if not on the sadhya. Sadhana level, at least it has to be there. If somebody has extremely offensive nature towards Supreme Lord, even their respective goals cannot be achieved. So some level of kirtanam, shravanam will be there in each of these paths. That is the point over here. That's why it is being said for all the classes. This is the Hari is to be heard, Hari is to be remembered. Somebody may say, it is okay for bhakti. Why are you saying for jnana? Why are you saying for yoga? But the point is this, that at their sadhan level, if they don't have this aspect, they cannot achieve their goal. It is not possible. So a yogi who doesn't have Supreme Lord Vishnu as Dharanashraya, such a yogi, either at least as Paramatma or at least as Virat Rup, cannot achieve Sayujya Mukti. It is not possible. By meditating on candle, he cannot go to Sayujya. They will say in today's world, yogis will say that Dharnashraya kya hai? Candle. Meditate on candle, meditate on light. It's not possible. They cannot achieve Sayujya by that. Even if they want to desire, they are desiring Sayujya. So that is the point. So there is one very important siddhant that Bhagavatam speaks, that in all the processes, some level of Shravanam Kirtanam, at least at sadhan level, is needed. And the proper understanding of, at least not considering Krishna as Maya, considering him as complete ignorance, will not give any Sayujya. That's why Brahmajnani achieves Brahma Jyoti. Yogi achieves Brahma Jyoti, but does Mayavadi achieve? He never achieves Brahma Jyoti. He cannot achieve Brahma Jyoti. That is the point. Okay. Hare Krishna. So I'll stop here. Why it is described as Lokahitam? Because the question is not beneficial only for himself, but it is beneficial for everyone. He asked the question, what is the duty of a dying man? So it is applicable only for himself, or it is applicable for everyone else? It is applicable for everyone else. So that is why it is called as Lokahitam. He would have just asked that, tell me what I should do, like that. But he asked the question in a way that it is applicable for everyone, like that. So that is why it is considered Lokahitam. By his questions, he's making sure that all the generations further, in fact, later Vishwanath Chakravarti makes a very nice comment. He says that when Shukdev Goswami meditated on how to answer Parikshit, so he remembered Prachin and Arvachin Jivas. So he remembered all the ancient Jivas, in the sense the living entities in the material world, and also all the Arvachin, those who are going to come in the future. So he remembered all of us, and then he said, now I will speak the answer. When Vishwanath Chakravarti says that, he meditated on all Prachin and Arvachin Jivas and said, I should speak such a thing which is applicable for everyone, for all the Jivas of the material world, those who want to perfect. That's why it is Lokitam. See? You can read it. You can read and find out. Yeah, I gave the meaning of that. We discussed already the purport. Yes. Anything else? Any other question? Is there anything on chat? Okay. So fine, then we can stop here today if there are no further.
This one, verses number 1 to 14,
He said that they talk about the glories of holy names. So when we discuss these three verses, first three verses, second, third, that Shrotayadi Rajendra and Dehapate Kalatadishu, they're Viparya, but how they're Viparya in relation to the holy name? Can you?
Because they say something is spoken by Anvaya and something is spoken by Vyatirek. So the purpose of speaking that topic is to establish in turn the glory of the topics of Supreme Lord. So bhakti ka utkarsh bolna hai. So that is spoken by speaking about what is not glorious, what is useless, what is something, if those misunderstandings are there. So you speak in a logical statement, you speak something by Anvaya and something by Vyatirek. So when you say that chanting of the holy name is the glorious, most glorious path, and then you say, and anything else that is not chanting of the holy name is the most useless path. Both of them have the same conclusion, isn't it? So that is how the Acharya, that is how the philosophical texts speak. So whenever such topics are there, you can understand that it is a Vyatirek glorification. It is a Viparyaya glorification, like that. And whenever the straight is spoken, that is called as Anvaya, like that. Like you will say, Savaya Bumsam Paro Dharma Yato Bhakti Rajokshache, Ahaitukya Pratihata Yayatma Suprasiddhat. Ye ho gaya Anvaya. What would be Vyatirek? Notpadayati Yadiratim. Dharma Svanashtitha Pumsam, Vishvaksen Katha Suya, Notpadayati Yadiratim, Shramaye Vahi Kevalam. So this is Vyatirek. So Anvaya Vyatirek. This way it is spoken, like that. Right? Regarding 9 process of devotion, Kirtanam is best to achieve goal of prema, and Smaran is the essence of prema. Is that? Kirtanam is the best sadhana of all. It will come, that verse is coming ahead only. Etan nirvidyamananam ichchadama kuto bhayam yoginam nirpanirnitam harir namanu kirtanam. So Kirtanam is the best means. In that also, Nama Kirtan is the best means. It will come. Vishwanath Chakravarti gives a long commentary on that. Now, Smaran is what? In Smaran or any other limb of bhakti, if you see, the aspect of Kirtanam will be there. It will be involved only. The glorification of Lord's Nam, Rupa, Guna, Leela. These are integral there. See, these 3 limbs itself is considered Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. They are only considered fundamental. But even within that, Kirtanam or Smaranam, because it is of Lord's holy names only, Lord's holy name, Nam, Rupa, Guna, Leela and all. So Kirtanam is a limb which is just everywhere, which is just there always, that way. Smaranam is more at the mental level. Smaranam also needs a qualification. Smaranam is not considered in the sense Smaranam has Antakaran Shuddhi as the qualification. See, there is some general Smaranam, but Smaranam as the limb of bhakti is higher limb actually. It has certain qualifications spoken in Bhakti Sandarbha, that way. So I don't know, meaning if you are referring to a certain verse which says essence of prema or like that, so maybe you can show that Praman like that. But the point is, Kirtanam is considered the highest limb, and all other limbs have that aspect within it, even as Atmanivedanam or as other aspects and all that. They are there. And Smaranam is, as I said, it also needs a certain level of purification. It cannot be practiced very early. It is said, Jiva Goswami says that if one's heart is very much tormented with material desires, he cannot practice Smaranam. Antakaran Shuddhi is the qualification. So he says, especially Smaranam, by Smaranam, I don't mean basic Smaranam is there. We chant verses. That is also Smaranam. That is agreed. But this Smaranam especially talks about Smaranam, Smaranam as the Smaranam in the sense of what I meant to say is Smaranam in the sense of practice, like that. So that is what is considered. So anyway, this topic you can raise again in the 11th verse. We can speak there. Essence, see, these words can be termed in so many different ways, like that. So anyhow, you can raise the question there. There I can address it. more. Kirtanam is considered the highest limb, higher than even Smaranam. That is for certain. Okay. Anything else? Okay, Prabhus, thank you. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.